Facebook في الغرب مش ضامن والله
I think inshallah next time we should do
just finish this one, put it in my Twitter feed.
Yes. There is a microphone with a microphone. That's a echo. Maybe next time we can. Right now it's in the head. 30 seconds. Delay. Assalamualaikum. Bismillah, assalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in wa ala ibadillahi salihin. Allahumma ja'alna minhum. Inshallah, welcome to this beautiful, welcome to the program for tonight. This program, for the gearing towards learning about the theme of the month, which is respect. Inshallah, I'll let Sister Nuzat talk more about that. But the program for tonight, we have with us our very own Imam Zia Shaikh, the Imam of Islamic Center of Irving, and he is author of books such as Islam Silencing the Critics. He has PhD from the Graduate Theological Foundation, Masters in Arabic and Islamic Theology. He's a Hafid of Quran, speaks many languages. And so inshallah, I'll let the program get started. I have, if Sister Nuzat can please come. And so for tonight, we're going to have the talk by Imam Zia Shaikh. And then we have some announcements and some program designed for the students and the parents together.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah, this was such a great idea, and of course, thanks to PTO for coming up with this idea for doing this. Jazakallah khair, Imam Sahab, for coming and helping us in the guidance, inshallah, advice that she will give us. I think this whole idea started with Tarbiyah, which is it develops, it's an Arabic word, and it means to develop one's personality, one's character to the highest level that one can develop. As being in Islamic school, I have spoken to several parents and said the reason you put your students in an Islamic school is for Tarbiyah. And it's really important, as we did the letter that went out that says it takes a village to raise a child. Originally, this is an African proverb. People have used it in several different contexts. Hillary Clinton actually named a book with this. People have used it during segregation, for safety, for different purposes. But I think I have a little different perspective. Your child is an honor with me. And one of the things that I want to offer, other than academics, is what I have offered my own children, not nurtured my own children with, and that is trying to give them a very strong Islamic identity and character. And the reason and the way we can do this is by focusing on the different values that they need to have and they need to develop and they need to practice. So every month we have a theme. We've done cooperation, integrity, honesty. This month we have talked about respect, respecting the Quran, respecting your body, respecting your parents, your teachers, respecting the people you live with, your neighbors. Just and through the month, I'll introduce them to a wide variety of situations where they need to practice respect, and then we want to see the students actually implementing this. So it really is a partnership between our society, between the home, and between the school to make sure our students are really practicing and implementing what they learn, and they're developing a very strong identity and personality. So given this, inshallah, I will hand it over to Imam Zia. And once again, I thank you all for coming. Jazakumullah khairan.
Today I've been tasked to talk about the importance of respect. And respect really is one of those fundamental things that are taught to us as part of Tarbiyah. And it's one of the foremost things that are taught in Islamic institutions. Now I remember very vividly and clearly that whenever we used to have a lecture in my field of learning, one of the main things that used to be taught and implemented and instilled into the students was the importance of respect. And generally speaking, when we say respect, the understanding is just respect towards human beings, respect to elders, respect to teachers, and respect to humanity in general is the understanding that people have when we use the word respect. But in Islam, and according to the Tarbiyah that we've got, respect is much more broader than that. So much so that it actually transgresses into the respect of the classroom, respect of the tools that you use for education, like your books and your pens, respect of the institution, and so on. And inshallah, I'm going to give you examples of that I have experienced in my life as I was taught. And inshallah, hopefully, everybody's going to be benefiting from that and they can pass it on to the children. So first and foremost, how is it that we get respect? And how is it that we can instill respect in ourselves for other people? The fundamental thing for that is humility in oneself, humbleness. Because when a person is arrogant, then he thinks others are beneath him. And he thinks that he's better than others. And when he thinks that he's better than others, then obviously he's not going to have respect for anybody. So the fundamental thing that Islam teaches is humility and humbleness. Remember that the Shaitan, Iblis, he had worshipped Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for thousands and thousands of years. He was a jinn, but because of his worship, he had got so close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he actually used to sit with the angels. He was in the company of angels. If you can imagine that how high he had elevated himself because of the fact that he was worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so much. And that is why he had within him this arrogance that I have achieved something and I have got close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him to prostrate before Adam, he said, no, I can't do that. I've been worshipping you, O Allah, for thousands of years. I've got to this status that I'm sitting with the angels, and now you just created this thing out of soil, and you want me to prostrate before that? Ana khayrun min. These are the words that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Quran again and again. That I am better than him, I am better than it. Okay, so he refused. Aba wastakbara wa kana min al-kafirin. Aba, he refused to prostrate. Wastakbara, he became arrogant, wa kana min al-kafirin, and all of a sudden he became from the disbelievers. He became from the kuffar, kafirin, ungrateful ones, however you want to translate this word, kafir. Simply because of the fact that he thought that I am better than Adam. خلقتني من نار وخلقته من طين. You created me from fire, and you created me from soil. Fire goes up, soil stays stationary on the ground. That means fire is better than soil. So this arrogance is what made the shaitan become rejected and cursed until the day of judgment. So much so that even on the hereafter, he has been condemned to the hellfire simply because of a small action of arrogance that he did not obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in prostrating before Adam alayhi salatu wasalam. So this issue of arrogance is something that brings people down, and it actually makes a person disgracing in the eyes of other people when he's arrogant. The Prophet ﷺ, he swore by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he said, I swear, وَالَّذِي نَفْسِي بِيَدِهِ, he swore three things in one hadith. مَا نَقَصَ مَالُ عَبْدٍ مِنْ صَدَقَةٍ. He said, I swear by Allah that when somebody gives in sadaqah, his wealth does not diminish. His wealth, it does not decrease. And the second thing, مَا زَادَ اللَّهُ عَبْدًا بِعَفْوٍ إِلَّا عِزًّا. Whenever a person is forgiving to other people, people make mistakes, they hurt him, they may do the worst things to a person. But if he has an attitude of forgiveness, then this will increase his respect in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and also in the eyes of other people when he is forgiving. That's the second thing mentioned in that thing, and this is also part of humility and humbleness, that a person, when he has the ability to take revenge, he doesn't take revenge, rather he's forgiving, and that is what we learn from the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Even after the conquest of Mecca, what happened, that he was forgiving to those people that had been enemies towards him for the past 23 years. So this was the second thing mentioned in the hadith that the Prophet ﷺ swore by. So two things. Firstly, when a person gives in charity, then his wealth will not diminish. Secondly, when a person is forgiving, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala elevates his respect in the eyes of people. And the third thing is the thing that we are focusing on today, that مَنْ تَوَاضَعَ لِلَّهِ مَا تَوَاضَعَ عَبْدٌ إِلَّا رَفَعَهُ اللَّهُ. That whenever a person humbles himself, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala elevates his status. When a person humbles himself, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala elevates his status. So the first thing that we have when it comes to respect and respecting others is one's own humbleness and one's own humility. Then when a person has that, then irrespective of the people that he is supposed to respect, he will respect them, okay? Irrespective of their status, irrespective of their financial status, irrespective of their race, irrespective of their position in society, a person will respect everyone. And we see this from the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, that he didn't differentiate between prince and pauper when it came to dealing with people. There's a very famous hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ, he saw that a woman that generally used to come to clean the masjid, she hadn't been coming for a few days. Again, this is the pinnacle of respect, that the Prophet ﷺ used to look out for everyone. He used to watch out for everyone. So he saw that she didn't come to the masjid for a few days. So he asked about her. She used to clean the masjid. So he asked, where's that woman that used to come? So the Sahaba said, Ya Rasulullah, she died a few days back. And we prayed her janazah. We didn't want you to be bothered by her, by calling you to the janazah. So we buried her, and we didn't bother to inform you. The Prophet ﷺ became upset. And he said, why didn't you inform me? Why didn't you tell me? And he actually went to the grave and he prayed his own janazah at the side of the grave for this woman. Who was she? She simply used to come to clean the masjid. Now just imagine, most of us are from India and Pakistan, and we have this attitude towards our servants, right? Do we think that we have that same attitude towards our servants in India and Pakistan? We don't have that. They are bullied, they are abused, and the same thing applies in Arab countries in the Middle East, when these maids come from the Philippines or from the Far East or from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and they work in the houses of these rich people. They are abused, they are taken advantage of. So many things happen to them. And look at the example of the Prophet ﷺ, how much respect he showed to the woman whose responsibility was simply just cleaning the masjid. You know, a janitor basically. Do we show that same respect to a janitor when we see them? Do we even bother greeting the janitor, saying salam to him, or if it's a normal thing, saying hi to him? You know, this is that attitude that we have to implement. This is respect that we learn from the Prophet ﷺ. This is one example. Another example, and this country is famous for, you know, some notorious things that have happened in its history. And one of them is the issue of slavery. And one of the things that critics of Islam have against Islam is they say that Islam actually encouraged slavery. And this is not the case. Slavery was prevalent for many, many centuries before Islam. Islam came and gave slaves rights and encouraged people to set slaves free. And slowly, as people understood the rights of slaves, the majority of slaves actually over time were freed, and now there is no official slavery that is taking place in Islamic countries. Illegally, maybe, there may be, but on a legal level, there's no slavery that is taking place. So there was one Sahabi, I believe it was Abu Bakr. People saw that he used to wear exactly the same clothing as the slave that used to be with him. Basically, the same clothes that Abu Bakr was wearing, the slave was wearing. The same kind of horse that he was riding, the slave was riding. The same food that Abu Bakr used to eat, the slave was eating. So people were surprised and they asked him that, Abu Bakr, what's the story behind it? How come we see you as a slave and you are acting exactly the same with him? So he said that once I was in front of the Prophet ﷺ, and I had my slave with me, and my slave did something silly, and I cursed him out because of it. I said something really bad to him, very rude to him. The Prophet ﷺ heard me, and he said, Ya Abu Dhar, innaka mru'un fika jahiliyyah. Oh Abu Dhar, you are a man that has jahiliyyah and ignorance in him. You are a man that has ignorance in him. And then the Prophet ﷺ went on to say that these slaves, they are your brothers in humanity. So whatever you wear, make sure you clothe them from the same clothes. Whatever you eat, make sure they eat from the same food that you eat. And if you give them work which is burdensome, make sure you help them. So from that time on, Abu Bakr said, I treated my slave exactly as the Prophet ﷺ told me. Again, can we take that example and just look at the way that we treat our subordinates back home in our countries, in so-called Islamic countries? Very far away from Islamic teachings and very far from what Islam taught us. So this is, again, it boils down to respect to the fellow human, respect, irrespective of his status and what he is and what his job is, but simply because of the fact that he's a fellow human, I need to respect him. This is what Islam teaches. Now, going on to the issue of, as Muslims, the respect that is taught to us, the respect to the teacher, Ali radiallahu ta'ala used to say that the person who teaches me something, I am his slave. The person who teaches me anything, I am his slave. He can set me free, or he can sell me to someone. I don't care. This is the saying of Ali radiallahu anhu, one of the Asharat al-Mubashara, the 10 people that have been promised Jannah, and one of the 4 Khulafa, and of course the son-in-law of our beloved Prophet ﷺ. This was his status, but what did he say about his teacher? This is what the respect of the teacher implies. Imam Shaikh rahimahullah, once he was teaching, and again we have this issue of the janitor. Okay, Imam Shaikh is teaching, and he's teaching obviously hadith and fiqh, and we know the status of Imam Shaikh. But the janitor, he comes, walks across the masjid, Imam Shaikh stands up. And then he goes away, so Imam Shaikh sits down. Again, the janitor comes and he stands up. So the students are surprised that, oh Imam, what is this? That this janitor keeps walking and coming by and he keeps standing. So he said, this janitor, he taught me one thing. And because of that, I have to respect him. What did he teach him? He taught him something completely far away from what we would assume are Islamic teachings. That when do you know a dog has become mature and valid? Okay. So what was the answer to that? The answer to that was this standard taught Imam Shaikh that when the dog raises its leg to urinate, that means it's become mature. Okay. Prior to that, when it urinates, it does not raise its leg, so that means it's not mature yet. So Imam Shaikh said, this person, he taught me this, and I have to show respect to him because of that. Not Quran, not Sunnah, not Fiqh. This completely, what we might assume is trivia. Okay. This was taught by this janitor to Imam Shaikh. Imam Shaikh, rahimahullah, showing respect to him by standing up every time he goes by. The third story we have is about Imam Malik, rahimahullah. Imam Malik, rahimahullah, he was sitting teaching hadith to his students. And all of a sudden, his face becomes blue, and then pale, and purple. And it looks like it's really uncomfortable. And the students are wondering what's going on with him, that he's looking completely sick, completely out of it, and something is going on with him, but they cannot figure out what's going on. So when the lesson finishes, Imam Malik, he said to one of the students, and again he waited till the lesson finished, he said, lift my shirt. So they lifted his shirt from the back, and they saw that there was a scorpion there. And the scorpion had stung him many, many times. And they said, Imam, why didn't you tell us that this is going on with you? He said, I was teaching hadith, and the respect of the hadith entailed that I could not cut the lesson just because of my discomfort. Can you imagine that? Scorpion stinging him, and he is sitting and finishing the lesson simply out of the respect of the hadith that he's teaching. And we have countless stories like this about our pious predecessors that we really need to reflect upon and learn from. And unfortunately, the institutions of learning, they don't instill these values into the children anymore. It's just education is information. The more information one has, the more certificates one has, the more A's that a person gets. All of these are regarded as important, but the values that Islam teaches, that has been sidelined for these certificates and these grades and so on, which of course are important, but the values that I've been mentioning, these are very, very important too. Like I said at the beginning of the lesson, the issue of respect was taught in our institutions. And I remember very vividly, very clearly, one thing that happened to me. I believe I must have been around 13 years old. This was the first year, the first few months that I had enrolled in the Islamic school where I studied. We were sitting in a study circle, small groups, sat across the classroom. Somebody across the classroom asked me for a pen. So I threw the pen at him, right? Okay, so something that we do. We still do. Probably if somebody does that, somebody asks for a pen, throw it. My teacher called me up. My teacher was sitting, was kind of supervising the class. We were doing our own studies, but he was supervising. He called me and he said, why did you throw the pen? Me being 13 years old. Well, he asked me for it, so I threw it to him. He said, And this is something that stuck in my mind. He said the pen is a tool of knowledge. You have to show respect to the tool of knowledge. Amazing. Okay, so this thing, it stuck in my mind for the rest of my life. And what we were taught was that when you hold your books, even though it's not the Quran, but out of respect for the books, make sure you are in the state of wudu. When you come to the classroom, make sure you are in the state of wudu. All of these things which are part of respect and others that were taught to us as we were growing up and part of the values that were instilled in us. You know, I don't know if any of you have engaged in martial arts. Anybody? No? Have you done it? Anyone? Okay, so if anybody does in the future, one of the main things or first things that is taught by the martial arts teacher is the respect of the dojo. The dojo, which is the area where the martial arts are practiced by the students, right? So how do they show the respect to the dojo? Before they come at the door, they bow to the place out of respect of the place that they're going to learn from. Okay, so but that same respect is something that actually Islam teaches us too. But unfortunately, again, like I said, it's not implemented as it should be. Okay, and then again, something obviously as Muslims we cannot do is bow towards our teacher because it's forbidden in Islam. But in martial arts, one of the first things that's taught is respect to the teacher, and they actually bow to the teacher. Okay, this is taught. But we have the utmost respect in our heart for the teacher, but Islamically we're not allowed to actually bow down to them because someone says that it's to be done for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But again, the value of the teacher, respect of the teacher, is something that is also taught in other societies, and as Muslims, we need to implement those same values into our teaching too. So, respect of people, respect of teachers, respect of humanity, respect of everybody around us, respect of the tools of knowledge, respect of the place of knowledge, all of these things are taught to us as part of our Islamic teachings, and we have to inshallah try to implement them. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us so we can understand and practice what we said. The question? Your question? Yes.
So, in parenting, we understand that modeling plays a very important role. It's what you are doing, and then kids learn that. But the situation here in US is that generally we're not living with our families. We're nuclear families. We're just the parents and the kids. I mean, I was born and raised seeing my grandparents. So I saw my mother, how she was dealing with her mother. I saw my cousins dealing with their grandparents. So I learned that respect of the older people, and maybe in general as well. But here we're not living like that. So in this situation, how do we teach our kids when it's very difficult for us to model things because we're not in those situations?
Actually, my wife and I were just discussing this issue earlier in the day, and I think it's important to give them exposure to that kind of attitude, and maybe take them back home or invite your parents here, and so that they can actually physically see that happen. Once they see it, then they will realize. I remember, again, one of the things that my dad used to be very upset with me about was that why didn't you spend time with your grandparents? And, you know, it was, I was like 7 or 8 last time I saw my granddad. And then after that, he passed away, rahmatullah. But I remember very clearly that my dad actually kind of get upset with me that why I'm not spending time with my grandparents when I visit my son. But the same thing actually I feel about my kids when I take them back home to England. You know, why did you sit with your grandparents? They miss you so much. And my memory goes back to the fact that I used to have that same attitude. So I think really that to let them feel that and see that and practice it, you have to expose them to it and either take them back home to India, Pakistan, or you bring your parents here for a few months so that they can see that being practiced. Okay.
Similar question.
So it says, in this day and age, kids are not the, in this day and age, kids are not the same as the students of all the time. What are some tips that Imam Zia might suggest to instill respect in our kids, both their teachers and others? The sister might be asking a similar question. Okay, so again, it all boils down to making sure that we give this equal priority. Because we haven't given it a priority, it's not a priority for us. You know, one of these stories that I mentioned about myself, it's not like 100 years ago. Okay, I'm not 100 years old. I'm getting old. I'm not that old. But it's just a few years ago. So it's not olden times that I'm talking about. It's just the fact that as we, uh, as I was enrolled into this institution, I was a little bit wild, out of public school, misbehaving and everything. But exposure, the teachers' attention, the teachers instilling those values into us, that basically, uh, brushed off on us, and we learn from it. So I don't think that this respect is limited to the olden days or a time of the very distant past. We can still do that now as long as we make that environment and the parents give it importance and the teachers give it importance. Uh, Another thing is really what happens is, again, I think it's a purely American thing, where the kids, when they complain to the parents about their teachers, it's just taken too seriously. And the parents basically come and complain about the teacher to the principal takes action, and basically, who is the king here? Who is ruling the whole situation? The kid. You know, nowadays, if we complain about our teachers, kids are going to slap. You know, you must be doing something wrong. That's why your teacher's punishing you. Right? You behave yourself, and your teacher's not going to punish you. Right? So I think that respect of the teacher has to come from the parents too. Okay, if the parents are disrespecting the teacher in front of their own kids, that's not a good example that they're setting. So this also, I think, it's important that we should understand and practice and implement in our lives the respect of the teacher. And if there's a genuine complaint, it should be done in such a way that the kids are away from the picture, so that it doesn't disrespect of the teacher is not validated in their eyes.
So respect can be different in different countries, right? What is respect in India is different from what's respect in the Arab world. Seems like holding books or knowledge, right? So in the Arab world, it's not so common. And in America, it's completely different. Like if a teacher comes, you can still be eating wherever, whereas in different countries. So sometimes if you're trying to instill something on children, they might be like, none of my friends or my teacher doesn't care about it, especially if it's public schools.
So the question is that different countries have different cultural values. So if, for example, like you're having a high school or college here, where the student is just getting up and going, leaving the classroom without permission, yes, that does happen here. Or the student is leaning back in his chair or eating. All of these things are just completely unacceptable in our society in India and Pakistan, right? Or even in Arab countries, it's not acceptable. But still, I think that we as an Islamic school, we have to kind of get away from that kind of
things that is culturally accepted norm and instill into the kids these values and tell them that yes, you might not see that outside. When you go to college, you might not see that. But irrespective of what you see, it still this thing is important, so you need to practice. So when we have this closed environment, I think it's a good opportunity for us to kind of get away from the norm of cultural norm of society and instill our own values into the kids.
I have the same question on how bowed down to the teachers during martial arts you mentioned. Um, would that be considered okay to bow down in front of a
No,
person?
I said no. It's not. It would not be permissible Islamically to bow down to the teacher. Islamically, it will not allow to do that because the Prophet allows and forbade us from lowering our head or prostrating to anything other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our respect has to be limited to what is in our hearts and in our other actions. The prostrating towards the teacher, even in martial arts, you should excuse yourself from doing that. And usually, the teachers are aware when the Muslims they don't do it. And the student tells the teacher that it's against my religion to do it. I do respect you, don't get me wrong, but I'm not allowed to bow in front of you because it's against my religion. But I think the teacher in my class will understand that. Yes.
What's tips that you can probably share with dealing with non-Muslim family members, especially with regards in the world today? How would you, for somebody like me, how would I go about trying to find out your family members who are non-Muslims, and things like that, in regards to respect?
This is again a very broad issue, and it's not something that I can answer in one sentence. But for the most part, I think that when you as a Muslim are showing the values that Islam teaches you in your daily life, and your kids are showing the values that Islam has taught them through you, obviously that is going to influence those non-Muslim families. Okay. When they see their kids running around and being disrespectful, cursing, and using that word, and your kids, completely different, okay, they will realize that, hey, there must be something here. So practicing Islam and showing the values practically, that is the biggest, I believe, influence. Siblings. Okay, the question is about siblings and how to deal with disrespect between siblings. Usually, sibling rivalry occurs when inequality is displayed by the parents between the siblings. And what the Prophet ﷺ taught was to try to be as equal as possible between the siblings. Once the Prophet ﷺ was approached by a Sahabi, and he said, Ya Rasulullah, I gave one of my sons a gift, and I want you to kind of make dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses. So the Prophet ﷺ, he said, asked the question, he said, did you give your other son a similar gift? He said, no. So then he said, don't make me a witness towards love. Don't make me a witness of oppression. So what does that tell us? That tells us that equality between the siblings is very, very important. And if we display inequality, then that will translate into rivalry and then disrespect. So there's usually a reason for disrespect with the sibling, and that is because usually we show more love to the younger one. And that's a natural thing, but it should be done in such a way that, the older one doesn't feel that this is that I'm being kind of sidelined for this new child that came into our family's life. So that is the fundamental reason that disrespect occurs. And then once we show equality, I believe that disrespect will not occur. Inshallah, we'll wrap up now. Jazakallah khair for the invite, and I'm hearing a lot of good things about the academy. I pray for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you every success and makes you flourish even more than it has already done. Jazakallah khair.
Just want to remind you about it's first Saturday of April. Please make sure that one of the parents is able to actually make it. How involvement is extremely important for the development of children. And when we are on the same page, it maybe makes things much better. Please try your best it's first Saturday of the week. And we have some activities designed for parents and the children. So if you can please join the children in the prayer, that would be or you can take some personal